Okay, so I'm going to make a quick video on how to make these do-it-yourself Cajons, or Cajuns if you like to call them that. And I've watched other YouTube videos on how to make them, and I just wanted to share with people what I found worked and what didn't, and of course I'll give you a sound demo here at the end so you can get an idea of what they sound like. So some trials and victories that I went through. The sides that I went with were 1/2 inch thick select plywood, so they had a real nice grain to them. And that's the top as well. Okay, so they were all 1/2 inch thick, and I went with the tops and bottoms were 30 by 30 centimeters, and these were 30 by 50, just to keep the numbers simple. A lot of videos said, 48 centimeters or something like that, and I just said, look, let's just make them 30 by 50. I'll show you how big that is when I go to sit on them at the end. So that's it for this. I sanded them down, of course, and it's pretty easy wood to work with, and a sheet of 4 by 8 I think is like 35 bucks or something like that. So it's not expensive, although mine was all free because it was scraps. Now here's the important part. The back side that I used was 1/4 inch, and it doesn't have to be anything specific. You can just use 1/4 inch plywood again. I don't know what kind of wood this was because it was, again, just scrap that we found kicking around. And then the fronts are probably the most important part. Now, most websites I went to said use 1/8 inch. So that's what I did. And I found, this is just some paneling you'd put like on the garage wall kind of thing. And it's an 1/8 inch. This is what it looks like on the front. So you can probably guess which one I used that for. Yeah, that's the front piece right there. This is the exact same thing. I actually took an orbital sander and sanded it down so it wasn't rough. Now, you'll hear the difference in sound too. That's actually solid wood, 1/8 inch thick, and that one is this paneling stuff. And it doesn't have as quite a big a boom to it, but again, I'll show you that at the demonstration. Okay, so you'll notice too that when I put the sides and the top on top of it, it made the height a little bit more than 50 because this is 1/2 inch thick, right? So it made it an inch taller, which added about 2.5 centimeters. So that's why the front and back are 52.5, because they had the top piece. I assume you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna have to draw it in here, but. Okay, now the important part that I really wanted to show you is the snare placement, because man, I gotta tell you, a lot of the videos I watched on YouTube made this look so complicated, and I found it actually quite easy. What I did was I just took a piece of wood kind of like this, and it was 30 centimeters long, so it would go across the front, and I took a drum snare and I cut it in half, and then I just screwed it to the front of it, so I just kind of put it right on here. And then when you do that and you turn it sideways, it actually naturally will kind of jut out a little bit like this at an angle, just a little bit. So then what I found was a lot of videos said to put it at a 45-degree angle, and that bends the snare so that it goes like this. That doesn't make a sound at all. I did that, and then I had to take the front back off and redo it because it didn't sound like anything. What sounds the best, if you think about how a snare works, they lie flat against the skin of the drum. We got drums right over there. So I took actually the old snare off my snare drum, put the new one on the drum, and I used the old one for this. So if you get them flat like this, they'll actually vibrate pretty nice, and I'm going to show you what that sounds like. So the first time I tried it, ended up messing it up, so I ended up doing it like this, where I just screwed it in. You can see it's this one here. You can see the screw. It is adjustable. It's not fancy with a handle, but if you just stick your hand in the hole in the back, you can make it snarier or less if you want. And then the other one I just screwed directly with this. Just put it right in. So again, you can bend it this way or this way to get it a little bit more or less snare. And I'm going to give you the sound demo. I'm just wondering if I left anything out. Oh, I'll tell you this too. I don't think this is important, but I just used finishing nails like this to put my. That's not what I used. These. I used these to just put the sides and tops all together, and I did glue the backs. I don't know why I did. I just did. And I also put in little extra supports that looked kind of like this. Anyway, I did screw the fronts in with just tiny little screws, which you can kind of see. So that was fun. I didn't do any pre-drilling or anything like that. I tried and it didn't make a difference. The wood still behaved the same way. So I'm going to put this on a tripod and give you a little sound clip. Okay, so I also did 2 different finishes, and I forgot to mention this on the video, but I went to the hardware store and I just got these little feet that you can just kind of nail in place. So I'll show you this one first. This is just a stain that you rub in and rub off, and it's nice and smooth finish. So I'm just a regular sized guy, like I said. This is 52 centimeters tall. And if you hit it down here, you get a nice little thump, and if you hit it up here where I put the snare, you get the snare sound, so you can get a I can tell you that the hole in the back is extremely important. If you don't have that, it sounds terrible. I did some experiments where I just kept my hand over it, and there was almost no bass sound compared to when it's open. So you gotta have that. That's my little symbol, if you're wondering what that is. So that's this one. Now this one sounds, I think I prefer this one. It's got a lot more snare and a lot more bass. That actually sounds a lot like a snare drum. So you can also do this if you want, where you can, if you hit the back, you get, it's not as much of a bassy sound, but you can use it as a drum too. I don't know how good the camera will pick up the sound on this, but it turned out very nice. I'm quite pleased with it. There's my homemade Cajons.